The possible suspect, only they got it all wrong. This young man was not guilty of a single thing. Now this mysterious Saudi national is speaking out.
It'd be very appropriate.
And you can feel it. And good morning, I'm Carol Costello. Thank you so much for joining us. A friend of the Boston bombing suspect is dead after implicating one of the brothers in a brutal triple homicide. This man you're looking at was killed after a violent confrontation with FBI agents in Orlando, but not before he told the FBI that he and Tamerlan Tsarnaev were responsible for the deaths of 3 men in 2011. This man, who is being questioned by the FBI, has not been connected to the Boston bombings, though, and we may never know because, of course, he's dead. While we do know the Tsarnaev brothers are suspected of carrying out the Boston bombings, there was initial suspicion about a Saudi national. Supposedly, he had burn marks on his hand, and according to one report, he smelled of gunpowder. But after intense scrutiny by the FBI, his name was cleared. And now Abdul Rahman Alharbi is speaking out about what really happened. Amina Chaudary is the editor-in-chief of the Islamic Monthly, and you interviewed this young man. She joins us now by phone. Welcome.
Great, thank you for having me.
Thanks for being with us. Take us through what exactly happened to this young man, to this Saudi national. He's at the scene of the Boston Marathon, and what happens?
Right, so he had, come to the Boston Marathon. He's studying from Saudi Arabia. Decided, I want to see what this is all about. His teacher told him about it. Showed up within 10 minutes. He was in the periphery of the second blast and was thrown to the street. What we understood from media story, the way the media had described this is that somebody saw him. They thought that he, had burn marks on his hands, that he was acting suspiciously, and as a result of that, they tackled him, and then that's how the whole questioning and everything that followed within the next 24 hours took place. But after we interviewed him, we understood that this was not necessarily true. He explained the story that once he landed on the street, covered in blood from himself and other people around him, he got up, he started walking. Everyone else was trying to get out of the area. He went to a police officer, I need help, where do I go? The police officer directed him to where all the other ambulances were, and he then started walking there. A runner or a bystander saw him and offered to help him. And he understands this as, an act of good Samaritan, a person trying to help him out. By the time he got to the ambulance, though, there were 3 other police officers that jumped on the ambulance with him. And then that's how everything else played out.
Okay, so then, he's injured. He's in the ambulance. They take him to the hospital. He's lying in his hospital bed, and you write, Alharbi tells you about his hospital experience, saying, part quote, all the police officers and the FBI and all the nurses and all the doctors were staring at me. I was looking at them like, is it because of the color of my skin, or is it because of the name of my country? And right. What happened next? What did they say to him as he's lying in his hospital bed?
Right. I think this really points to 2 important aspects, right? So the first is racial profiling. Unless there were 3 other police officers that jumped on the ambulance with every other victim that went to the hospital, then this is a clear case of racial profiling. Fine. It's happening in America. It's likely going to continue to happen. Addressing racial profiling is a larger issue. The other point is that, the bombing happened at 2:50 p.m. By 4:28 p.m., a news report had come out citing authorities saying that there was a Saudi suspect in custody. So there's 2 problems to this. The first being that he was labeled a Saudi, and the second that he was labeled a suspect. The bigger issue is really what happened. How was his name released? How was, his address released? And why was this one description within an hour and a half of the bombing taking place mentioned to the media? What went wrong?
Because from what I remember, he was never considered a suspect. He was just a suspicious person.
Right. Well, again, we contacted the FBI, and we wanted to know, and I think that this would really help. Facts are still coming out with regards to the bombing, and that's fine. This will take some time to fully understand, but we wanted to know from the FBI, well, what was his official status? Was he ever officially detained? Was he in custody? Was he, a person of question? Was he ever labeled by the FBI as a suspect? And we just don't have the answers to that. But Homeland Security during the congressional hearings, said that he was never really a person of interest. on top of which, you know, he was just someone that was at the wrong place, wrong time.
Okay, so tell me where he is now. Like, is he back in Saudi Arabia? Is he still in the United States? Is he still
No, he was not deported. You know, that's another story that's come out from the media. And so he's not deported. And again, we don't know. Investigations are still happening with the FBI in the entire bombing, in the entire bombing situation. But the biggest question really here is he's here. He's in Boston. He's trying to resume his normal life. That's not possible, though, because after he was discharged, he couldn't go back to his house in Revere since the full address was revealed. The names of his roommates were revealed. He changed the way that he looks in public, especially given that his photos from Facebook were literally all over. His full name is all over the media, and so he's trying to pick up his life, you know, make it back to normal. So he doesn't know, though, what he'll continue doing in America, but the bigger question, and the one that we're hoping to get answers to, is where was the fault? I mean, we know for a fact that if you were to throw certain descriptors into the lion's den of media, certain conversations are going to ensue from that. So was it necessary to mention that he was Saudi? I'm not sure. And the bigger takeaway from this, you know, whatever emerges from the FBI investigations after this, the biggest takeaway is that the moral of the story doesn't change. And that's being that he cooperated with the FBI. I think anybody would. Not just, you know, because if they know themselves to be innocent, they're going to want to cooperate with the FBI. But on top of that, you know, I mean, we're all trying to protect this country. We love this country, want to give back to this country. But he doesn't blame the FBI. But why was his name released, and where did that fault happen?
Well, our best to him, and thanks to you for sharing his story. Amina Chaudary, editor-in-chief of Islamic Monthly Magazine, thank you so much. Just ahead of the newsroom.